Hello again everyone, Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about the South Node and major adverse aspect to the Ascendant in a natal horoscope. As most of you know, the South Node is associated with what we generally overemphasize or accentuate very strongly, often in the first part of our lives. And when we hit around age 30, it gets kind of monotonous. It's kind of like been there, done that, and we generally feel compelled to go to the North Node placement. And we look at this, and the South Node is not something that we generally will eradicate completely, but we may integrate at least a little bit into the North Node qualities in the latter part of our lives. And we know the Ascendant is connected with our I guess you could say our outer personality, our astrological mask, our facade, the physical body. And anyway, people, get started. The first thing is when I look at this, obviously if you have the South Node in a major adverse aspect to the Ascendant, it's negative, of course, but you look at this and obviously it can create a conflict. South Node is connected with the overdeveloped qualities, and I call that this kind of the redundant spot in our horoscope. And we could take example. It can obviously conflict with what the outer personality is, the energy that's bringing. And for example, we take like somebody that has Aries rising and squares the say the South Node in Cancer. This could be somebody that projects their very outspoken kind of nature, very frank and blunt, and has and can sometimes be combative and is a very fiery temperament. But you have the Cancer South Node energy, which may be overused or overemphasized in the first part of the person's life, and during this period especially, you could see where the Cancer South Node energy can be somewhat emotional, clinging, and sensitive, where Aries, though not necessarily completely insensitive, not as on the average, not quite as compassionate as the Cancer. So you have these conflicting energies, and which could cause kind of I guess you could say like an exasperation or turmoil to some degree in the person. This could be something where when we look at this these aspects, that there can be something where maybe the person doesn't quite maybe feel I guess the urge, I guess, to go with whatever is trendy or whatever the fad is in this part of their life especially. On the one positive note, if somebody were to have, let's say they had the South Node opposition their Ascendant, and say they had their Ascendant in Gemini, they had the South Node in Sagittarius. Well, Gemini is a sign that likes to is very amiable, it's very friendly, and I'm not saying they necessarily want to prevaricate or lie, but often Gemini's the type that might maybe say something where to somebody in a way where it doesn't quite hurt their feelings. And if you have somebody that has this in opposition to, say, the South Node in Sagittarius, this could be something where you can see the conflict, because the Sagittarius energy is somewhat very blunt, very forthright. It's about truth seeking, and even if the truth hurts sometimes, they can still they will still say it very often. And even though Sagittarius is a mutable sign and it's adaptable and it seems for the most part easygoing, Sagittarius can be very forthright and sometimes cutting with their statements. So you could see where you would have kind of the pull between these two signs, and especially in that example, if you have that opposition, you have the South Node in the 7th house of partnerships, then you're really seeing especially in the first half of the person's life, that redundancy, which might cause kind of like maybe the problems in relationships to some degree, and the relationships might be to the person's detriment, and it might, in this I guess you could say, this kind of this pull in the, I guess you could say, in the personality, the outer personality, and then the overdeveloped qualities with the south node, that could maybe be playing a role in that. So anyway, this is something where obviously you have the negative aspects are adversarial, and because you have the conflict with what the south node and you have the in the outer personality. The one thing though, if you have the south node, I was talking about the south node in opposition to the ascendant, you would have the north node conjunct the ascendant. So in that example, you would have in the latter part of your life, things would be, as far as that particular aspect goes, that things would be, I guess you could say, a little bit better in terms of perhaps some notoriety, or at least some strong popularity. However, you might not have, it might indicate you may not have a lot of sustained relationships or friendships. You might be able to draw a lot of acquaintances to your side, but you might not have a plethora of significant relationships with others. But it can still give inordinate popularity to a person. So basically, I guess that sums it up as far as the south node and major adverse aspect to the ascendant goes. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be talking about the south node conjunct the sun in a natal horoscope. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel, but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis on a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone. Because a person astrologically is the sum of all the components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.